I invited Chris Heller with Ojo Labs. He's the chief real estate officer at Ojo Labs. Today, we're going to talk about his book, Dominant Thoughts. Okay. And what I love about this book is who other than to talk about somebody who is an expert in the market, somebody who has mastered his mind, mastered his thoughts for the most part, I'm sure, right? Everybody's human, right, Chris?
Yes, we are.
And to really have a chat with us about where our minds should be going in this market. The market is shifting right now. And I think it's really, really important that we master our mind, we get a hold of our thoughts. And Chris's book here is Dominant Thoughts, Things Grow Where Our Minds Go. And I just noticed there's also an Audible. So if you need the Audible, then grab the Audible. So today, Chris Heller, I'm going to introduce him. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Ojo Labs, the former CEO of Keller Williams International. He also has been in the business over 3 decades, has sold over 100 homes a year in any market. Okay, that's the key. Any market, including a market like this, every single year with his team. Okay, so Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
You look
always
super comfortable.
Fun to talk about real estate stuff.
I love it. I love it. You look really comfortable. So the $1 million question, where are you?
I'm in a friend of a friend's house in Telluride, Colorado. So,
oh my gosh. How long are you going to be there?
Just till Saturday. We were here a week, Saturday to Saturday.
Okay. All right. So this is what you and I do. We miss each other. I'm going to be heading to Colorado in 2 days and snowboarding in Keystone.
Oh, nice.
So I love this. You're always in one place and I'm always in another. So, okay. So Chris, tell us a little bit about your background a little bit. I like to just hear it from you, what your background is in real estate, what you love about real estate in this kind of market. And then I want to kind of dive into your book.
Yeah. I've been doing this my whole life, my whole adult life.
Oh, sorry. I just muted you. Hold on. Sorry.
Am I still muted?
You're not muted. I was trying to mute somebody else. Go ahead.
Okay. Apparently Tanya didn't like the way I started, so I'll start differently.
Start over, please.
I've had a real estate team for 33 years, sold over 4,000 homes. I've led and built teams, brokerages, and companies, like you said, leading Keller Williams and leading other companies. We have 36,000 agents in our Ojo network. So yeah, I've done what we all are doing for a long, long time. And, we're in a market now where quality matters. We're in a market where speed mattered, and speed mattered more than anything. Now we're in a market where quality matters more than anything. And by quality, I mean the quality of the agent, the skill of the agent. And the agents that have the skills, the agents that know how to use the skills, the agents that know how to leverage what's needed in this market are the ones that will do a ton of business. And the ones that have been skating by, being fed by the market will be scratching their head wondering why they're not doing any business anymore. I'll just wrap it up in a nutshell for you guys. The only thing that changes in the market are really 3 or 4 things. One is how we react to the changes. The other is the expectations that we need to set. The third is the education that we need to provide. And people still buy and sell homes, so that part doesn't change. The role of the agent doesn't change, but the conversations we have change dramatically. And the expectations that we set with buyers and sellers change dramatically. The level of education we have to provide to a seller to get them to understand what's happening and where things are going and where they need to be successful, and what happens if they don't do that. is crucial to them, to you being able to help them and them being able to achieve their goals. Helping buyers understand why and when it still makes sense to buy, regardless of interest rates, regardless of other things, is key to educating them so that they can make good decisions based on good information. So anyways, I could keep talking, but I will stop and see what questions Tanya wants to ask.
I love that. So the three things are how we react to the market, our expectations, and the level of education and how we communicate what the market looks like. So, in this market, a lot of people are in a fear-based mode. And I think that might be where you're talking about reaction. And in your book, you have a chapter called Show Up. And what I loved about that chapter is, and by the way, you guys, what's really great about this book is it's a short book, it's a parable, and in the back of the book, it gives all the lessons. So there's no reason that all of you shouldn't go out and get this book and read it right away. It is so easy. Now, Chris,
that's one advantage of having the actual book versus the Audible, is that that information at the back is, a lot of agents have found that very helpful.
Oh my gosh, it sits on my desk. And when I let that drunk monkey, right, get in my head, I have to pull it up and say, show up. What is Chris Heller saying about showing up? And, I actually have a confession to make with you, Chris, and you know this. You and I met in, our girls were going to kindergarten together, followed you, joined your team. And all of a sudden we had the market crash, right? And I was working for you and I came to you scared, right? And nervous like everybody else, okay? Back in probably 2008. And I started asking you, Chris, what should I do? What should I do? And you're like, first of all, trust me. And you said, just go after it. And you need to show up, Tanya. And you mentioned something about energy. And I remember you saying this, that I believe that you, Tanya, have the energy to stay in this and you can do this. And one thing I did is I actually hopped ship and went to another REO company, which I should have stayed with you. So we're all human. And so I want you to talk a little bit about, in order to dominate your thoughts and control our mind in this market, showing up, you mentioned you got to go all in, give your full and undivided time and attention to every single task. Talk to me about showing up even when fear is knocking on your door like me.
Yeah, okay. Fear exists in our heads, right? And our minds only know what we tell it. So, we have a choice in everything that we think about and every path we decide to take. The key is developing a strong mindset, right? The stronger your mindset, the less susceptible you are to those thoughts, those doubts, those insecurities. And so the real question is, how do you develop a really strong mindset? And that's something that I spent a lot of time doing, because I actually sort of figured this out really early on, that was the one thing I could do to at a higher level than most of my competition. I didn't have any special talents or skills or experience or anything else as a new agent, but having a really strong mindset allowed me to achieve dramatically more than most of the agents in the same amount of time. So, how do you build that strong mindset? Well, one way is to limit the stuff that causes you to have a weak mindset. So limit the negative. What we read, what we listen to, what we pay attention to, who we spend time with. I don't have negative in my world. I don't watch the news. I don't have people that take energy from me. I don't have those relationships don't exist in my world, because I just don't allow them. I don't have a tolerance for them. And at the same time, limiting the negative is maximizing the positive. You guys are all here actually, I don't know why you're all here, but you're all, I assume you're all here because
They
you're,
heard a legend was coming on and they're like, what?
oh,
A
you're
legend? I
here
gotta
because
go.
you're interested in getting better and growing and improving and everything else, right? So that's the type of thing you want to continue to do. Who you spend time with, what you watch, what you listen to, what you read. I always operated with this belief that there was a finite amount of room in here. And so was I going to fill it with negative or positive? And the more positive I put in, the less negative there was room for. So I was very conscious about that. And when you have a strong mindset, it's much easier to be confident. It's much easier to be objective. It's much easier not to be attached to the outcome, and all the things that we talk about in the book. So the key is, okay, well, how do you build that strong mindset? Another way to do it is conquering things that are challenging for you, and
Yes.
being comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I'll talk about both those real quick. So conquering things that are challenging to you. Pick something that's super challenging. That might be, it could be what time you go to bed at night, what time you wake up in the morning. It might be something to do with your diet, something to do with your exercise. But whatever it is that you want to be doing or know you should be doing that you're not, just pick that one thing. For
Yep.
me early on, it was just getting up early. I was a night owl as a kid. I was a night owl as a juvenile, and as a night owl when I got my license in 20. And the thing that I said, okay, I need to do is I need to get up early. And so I just started getting up early. And at first it was really tough. Going from waking up at 7 or 7:30 to getting up at 4:30 was a big shock, a big change. But after a while, it just became normal. It just became like anything else, like brushing your teeth or putting your clothes on in the morning, right? It's what you do. Um, and it becomes a habit. And so forming that habit around the one thing that's challenging for you, when you do that, everything else is a lot easier. The other thing I mentioned was being comfortable with being uncomfortable, or being comfortable with the uncomfortable. There's lots of little ways you can do that. If you wear a watch or a Fitbit, wear it on your other wrist for the next week.
Yep.
If you, I see Chris driving, if you drive to the same location every day, like to your office or your kid's school or back to your home from wherever you're at, pick a different route every day. Don't do the same one you do. It's uncomfortable. But after a little while, you get that uncomfortableness goes away. And when you can get comfortable with those type of things, getting comfortable with other things becomes much easier.
Yeah, I just gave a class on time blocking and time management. And it was like, okay, yes, there are people that have everything dialed in, but try one day or try 3 hours, do that. And you mentioned something, it's about habit, right? And I always see this quote that says, how you do anything is how you do everything. How do you feel about that quote? Because that is a quote that slaps me in the face all the time when my car's dirty. I'm like, okay, if I want to be a wealthy woman, I have to have a clean car. If I want to be a wealthy person, I got to have a clean desk. How do you feel about that quote? How you do anything is how you do everything.
I think it's totally accurate. It's, the best example of that is sports and practicing, right? You won't hear a all-star type player or professional player or an Olympic athlete who doesn't tell you that, their practice was every bit as hard or harder than the games. They put more effort into practice than they did anything else. And I know that, and I know that works. As an agent, I practiced every day for 26 years when I was, involved, active as an agent, and I role played every day, regardless of, if I took 5 listings a day before, I still role played my listing presentation the next day. Um, that's just that's how you get great at anything. So yeah, how you do something is everything. You brought up an example of that is, your car. Another way to have a strong mindset is to have everything in your world be the way that you know it should be. Because when one
Yeah.
thing's not, it's like a chink in the armor.
Yep.
So your work environment, your home environment, your car, your health, your relationships. If any of those things aren't handled, you're fooling yourself if you don't think that takes a toll. You can't operate at a peak level without all those areas, being handled.
I love that. I love that. That reminds me of a quote from Elvis Presley is, it is about a dream is, ambition is a dream with a V8 engine, right? Like you have to put gas in the Ferrari and premium gas if we want to be the best.
Yeah. I thought you were
So,
gonna, when you said Elvis
go ahead.
Presley, I was thinking of other quotes, but yeah, that's a better one than the ones I was thinking about.
What's your favorite quote? What is the favorite quote that just gets you going?
Some of the songs. My favorite quotes in general are life is a great adventure or nothing at all. That was a Helen Keller quote. Such a good question. I actually had a bunch of them I used to keep taped up to on my monitor. And some of them weren't quotes, they were just things I used to always say. One of the things my wife says, I hear her tell people about a lot, and that is I would say, I'm never down. I'm either up or getting up. So if I get knocked down, I'm never staying down. I'm always up or getting up. And I've truly felt that way. Like I don't think there's times in our lives where bad things happen, right? And those get you down. But in a work situation, no.
Okay. I love that. I love that. Keep on getting up. So your chapter here, showing up, do something hard, challenge yourself. You guys, he's not going out and saying, you guys, you got to go find 10 listings in a day. He's just saying, develop the simple habits. And that's why this book is so great, Chris, because as coaches, I'm a real estate coach too. We coach on all these fundamentals and we coach at a high level. And sometimes it's like, wait a minute, we got to go back to like kindergarten a little bit and keep things simple, right? And so talk to me about showing up and doing something hard. One, there was a question that asked, what are three, there's a lot of noise right now. So what are 3 podcast resources or real estate influence resources that you would recommend so that we can listen to the right stuff and show up?
Yeah, I don't, I read a lot of books and listen to a lot of books. I don't, I'll occasionally listen to a podcast, but
or give us some book recommendations.
Yeah, I think I like, and it's not just books too. We come across stuff on social media a lot. So for positive things, I really like, one of my favorite authors is Adam Grant. And, if you follow him on LinkedIn or on Twitter, he always has really, really solid and good things to say on a daily basis. For straight up motivation, and this won't, he does not appeal to everyone. So, but David Goggins, David Goggins is, is definitely that high energy, strong mindset type of
you're like his, get your ass up, nobody's gonna save you. Do you like that part?
Yeah.
Okay, David Goggins.
I don't have to think who else.
Well, I have a suggestion. You guys have your Ojo Labs has a YouTube channel, right? And I don't know if you guys have a podcast. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, no, we have a YouTube channel called the Ojo Select Network, and there's and anyone, it's it's a public channel, anyone can go to it. But for agents, there's it has some of the best training. Like when my team brings on a new agent, they go to that YouTube channel and watch the videos on there, because it's whether you're a new agent or whether you're a, a an experienced agent, there's tons of value. Everything from interviewing some of the top coaches in our industry to just a lot of good stuff. So,
well, okay, so let's actually touch on that a little bit. I was listening to it this morning. You guys talked about scripts, but first tell us what Ojo Labs is and why it differs from other online lead companies.
Yeah, well, we help consumers wherever they're at in the process. The thing that's relevant to this group is, we connect consumers that don't have a real estate agent, that have a real estate need, with great real estate agents. And most of those consumers come to us off our site, which is called movoto.com. And we are through a process using technology and people, helping these consumers find out what their needs are, connecting them to the right agents, then staying in touch with that consumer and that agent throughout the process to make sure they get their goals met, whether it's buying or selling a home.
I love that. Okay, so today you talked about in a podcast that I was watching, you were talking about scripts. Okay, and in your chapter 6, there you talked about don't be attached to the outcomes. And I think this is a really good segue that when somebody says they want to wait the market out, the rates are too high, talk to me about what you would advise agents to do that really kind of relate to not being attached to the outcome today.
Yeah, that's one again, that's one I just learned by watching, right? Being in a real estate office as a young agent, and we all have, in our business, we all have bad things that happen, right? We have our friend that hires someone else to sell their home, or the buyer who you've worked with for weeks and weeks, and you're supposed to meet them tomorrow to go look at a house for the 3rd time, and then you found out they bought a house yesterday, and or the deal that's supposed to close, your only deal that's supposed to close, falls out of escrow at the last minute, right? All those things happen, and there's how we react to those things is everything. And the best way to be able to react in the most positive way possible is just not being attached to the outcome, which is, on the surface, may sound easier said than done, but it's actually not that difficult. I would see those things happen, and I would see agents be ruined for days. They'd be like, what happened? To anyone seen Joe lately? Nah, he lost that deal 2 weeks ago. No one's seen him since. Right? You like people, they just get taken out of the game because of how they react to it. And I don't know about any of you, but I could never afford that to happen. I couldn't afford to be out of the game for more than a few minutes. My family, my team, my clients all depended on me. So I actually even had a rule, which was my 3-minute rule. My team knew that if something bad happened and they told me about that, I had 3 minutes to be pissed about it, or get angry, or get emotional, or whatever it was. But on the 4th minute, it's like it never happened, like it never existed.
That's when David Goggins is yelling in your ear.
This was long before this might have been before David Goggins was born.
Mike Ferry.
Yeah, it was just there's, when you're attached to something, you feel it, right? In your gut, you're emotionally involved. You're doing that, and you cannot be a great help or a great advocate for your client when you're attached.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's like, if you imagine an emergency room physician who was attached to every person who came in the emergency room. I mean, after 2 or 3 days, they'd be a mess. They'd be completely burnt out. They'd be jumping off the building, right? Now, if you're not attached, doesn't mean you don't care, right? Yeah. I care deeply, but I was committed, right? I wasn't attached. I was committed to the great outcome. I was committed to the goal being achieved. I was committed to a smooth transaction. I was committed to my client winning. but I was never attached. So if it didn't happen, I was ready for the next at bat.
I love that.
Now, it's much easier when you're doing all the things you're supposed to be doing and your business is going great, not to be attached. All
Yeah.
right, let's call it like it is. If you had 20 properties pending right now and 20 very saleable listings that were priced below market, and you lost one, you won't like it, but you're not going to be ruined, right? You're not going to,
Yep.
crawl into the covers for 2 weeks.
Yep.
But when you don't have that happening, it's much harder not to be attached. So number one, always act like you have 20 properties under contract. Always act like you have 20 saleable listings.
So
Always
don't
have that
come from a
mindset.
scarcity mindset.
Yeah. And then, be committed. But as soon as you feel yourself being attached, recognize that and choose not to be. Your clients don't want that. They want you to be the professional. They want you to be able to be objective. They want you to be able to be powerful and help guide them through this process.
So, okay, guiding them through this process, what would a script, what kind of script would you use when somebody says, I want to wait out the market, the rates are too high? How would you go about that objection?
About wanting to wait because interest rates are too high?
Yep. Wanting to wait because interest rates are too high. Because today I was listening to one of your videos and you were talking about the questions that you asked in 10 years and just how would you dive in and be more of an advisor and a consultant?
Yeah. So look, when a buyer mentions interest rates or prices or values or weight or timeframes, what they're really saying is they're afraid or they have a concern. So we need to ask some questions to get to whatever that concern or that fear is. So if someone says, hey, I think I'm going to wait because interest rates are too high. Well, gosh, tell me what you mean by that. Well, I just, they're so much higher than they were. Yeah, interest rates go up and down. They may get higher in the future. Are you going to stay a renter the rest of your life if rates never get back as low as they were? Because that's a possibility. Or is it an issue of affordability? Chris, really what it is that these rates, I can't make those payments. Or, gosh, I can't buy the type of home I want. Well, all right, well then let's look at what your other options are. Your other options are that you buy something smaller now or less expensive or something a little farther out. But, always going back to their motivation, right? Assuming that they're renting and they want to, maybe they're a first time buyer. Then I'm going to say, look, don't let interest rates be the determining factor of whether you start owning a home, building wealth, and creating opportunities for yourself. Interest rates change all the time, and you're not going to be married to the interest rate. When rates go down, you're going to refinance it. So you're not going to be stuck for 30 years in any mortgage. No one, is very, very rarely ever happens, right? Rates go up and down. But if you can afford a place and when you find something you love, wouldn't it make more sense to get into it now and start building equity for yourself instead of continuing to build equity for your landlord? Wouldn't it make more sense for you to create, be in a situation where you have a better tax write-off so that you're sheltering more of that money that you work hard to make every year? Those are the conversations that you need to have. And sometimes it's just sitting down with pen and paper and saying, okay, well, let's look at the options. You're paying $3,300 a month in rent right now, and that may go up. Was it lower last year? Yes, it was lower last year. All right, well, it might be higher next year too then. By owning a home, you fix your housing costs. And let's look at, what type of house you get for that same type of payment. And let's look at that, what's going to be tax deductible of that payment. And let's look at what's going to be going towards principal reduction, that lowers the amount of money you owe on the home, which turns into equity for you, and just really walking them through that. It's really important, whether it's a buyer or seller, when they express a fear, a concern, a question, objection, whatever it is, that we get underneath that surface level to find out what's really going on. And that's where we can help them and move them in the direction that, is best for them.
Yeah, and I love like the 2-1 buy down program if people are really payment sensitive and just the resources out there. But when we're talking about, showing up and doing something hard and education, it's educating yourself on the financial products out there. Do you agree?
Yeah, like that's our job, right? We have to do our homework to know more. I mean, if the client knows more than us, then we're probably not in the right role.
No, not at all. Okay, so I want to go to your chapter 7, the mindset of success. So, and this is about movement. We're always seeing you hiking in Montana. You're always on the beach. You have a quote here. It says, strong body, strong mind. The mind and body work together. If one is weak, the other will suffer. If the mind is lazy, the body will too. The body is energetic and healthy, so too will be the mind. They work together and they depend on each other. You cannot neglect one and expect the other to thrive. That's why I believe in eating right, exercising, and yes, relaxation and having fun. They're all good for my body and my mind. Talk to me about, having a strong mindset in this market, how important it is to move.
Yeah, look, it's important in every market, right? We're talking about no one on this Zoom aspires to be average or mediocre, right? If you did, you wouldn't be here. So if we want to be not ordinary, but extraordinary, then we have to do things to have that happen. And it's hard to do that when we don't feel good, when we don't have energy, and it's super hard to have a strong mindset or a success mindset when we don't feel good or we don't have energy or, we have other health things going on. So the key is to be able to operate, at a peak level. Because I don't think anyone on here wants to work twice as much, as anyone else, right? In fact, you really can. There is a finite amount of time in every single day and a finite amount of days in a month and months in a year. So how do you become as efficient and effective in the time that you do have? And part of that is being able to operate at a really peak level, to be able to, how do you keep distractions away from you? When your mindset isn't strong, when you're feeling insecure, when you're having doubts and everything else, it's really easy to get distracted. It's really easy to just distract yourself. Yep. But when you're really operating at a high level, it's much easier to insulate yourself from the distractions, whether they're internal or external.
I love that. Okay, so I want to talk. A few people have a few questions. I'm going to bring on Mary. I'm going to unmute Mary and have her ask her question. Mary, why don't you unmute?
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Woohoo! Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So going back to what you were saying about your 3-minute rule and the distractions and stuff like that, how do you, like, when you do get that, upset or mad or get in that distraction, what are some of the things that you do to kind of get you out of that mode or kind of get you out of, you say, okay, 3 minutes. I mean, how do you actually keep your body to that and keep your mind to that? And how do you get out of it?
Yeah. So, I literally would time it and then I would be, it's just like next. It's like, in sports, it's like, and I'm sorry, I'm using a sports analogy for those of you who don't like sports, but if we think of a baseball player goes up to bat and strikes out. At his next at bat, if he's dwelling on the last at bat and that he struck out and that he failed to accomplish the goal or to drive in a run or to help his team and all those things, how likely is he to be successful at that next at bat? Probably not very likely. So you see this with athletes every time. Every Monday Night Football last night, a player, gets beat on a play or makes a mistake. They instantly have to be prepared for the very next play, which is happening within 30 seconds, right? They can't dwell on that. And if they do, everyone on their team sees it and knows that the coach would yank him out of the game. They wouldn't be at that level. They're not, professionals don't do that. So we want to act and be professional. The other thing is every negativity, every negative thing has opportunities on the other side. So people say, oh, this market's so bad or hard, or everything else. I go, this is the best market. This is the market that has the most opportunities. This is the market. Well, I don't care if you're running a large company, an agent, running a team, no matter what it is, this is a market of opportunities. So in everything that happens, look for the opportunity. A deal falls out. Okay, what's the opportunities that come out of that? Maybe you're going to be able to help find them even a better house. And they're going to appreciate you even more because they know how hard you worked, and they're going to get more referrals because of it. Whatever it is, just quickly focus on where are the opportunities.
I love that. Thank you. Okay, so we have Chris Nolan. I'm asking him to unmute. He has a question for you. Go ahead, Chris. I might actually just ask these questions because it's go ahead, Chris. People in their cars. Mm-hmm. We got you. We see you. Go ahead. All right. Chris, we can't hear you, so why don't you just type that question? Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris. Chris Heller.
Anyone that has questions.
Yeah. Who has questions? Okay. So for me, somebody says, for me, I think it's Brianna. I know myself and I can put it aside for the moment and transfer it into something creative later. Does something like that apply?
Yeah. I mean, look at you. We don't live in a perfect world, and things never go perfectly, right? There's always going to be challenges. Some of them are life-changing challenges. Some of them are deals. Another thing that helps to keep things in perspective, unlike that emergency room physician that I talked about, or a surgical doctor, none of what we do is life or death, right? Someone's house not selling isn't the end of the world, right? They're not gonna die within 60 seconds because we didn't get the offer accepted. So we have to also not take ourselves too serious and what we do too serious, right? This is a game called real estate that we all chose to play. And the name of the game is let's win, and win more times than not. And so, yeah, when things happen that don't go well, we look at what can we learn from it, what can we do to prevent from ever happening again, and where's the opportunity? And that's all there is to do.
Yeah, I'm going back to you just saying kind of sign up for something hard. You guys do that as a piece of homework. Go away and sign up for something hard right now, like whatever is the hardest, most challenging thing for you to overcome right now, because Chris does a lot of hard things every single day. So I think it's important that we take that action step. Okay, so we have another question that came in.
Jason, that question, is that the one you're looking at in the chat?
I'm actually looking at Jason's. So Jason said at the beginning of this webinar, you mentioned about the talent of an agent. What advice do you have for a brand new agent with no talent or experience?
So there's a couple things, but one is, it's the same thing you would do if you wanted to get good at anything. If you wanted to, get good at playing a musical instrument, if you want to get in better shape, if you wanted to, get better at painting or whatever it was, you would just start practicing. And the more you practice, the better you would get. When you're new and you don't have a lot of things going on, you have an advantage over everyone else. And the advantage is time, right? You're not showing homes to 3 different buyers a day. You don't have 4 properties in escrow that you're managing and all those other things. You have the luxury of time. And so you want to use that time and be practicing scripts, role playing them, chanting them, writing them out, practicing objection handlers, what to have 5 different ways to handle, the most common objections. And here's the good news. I've been in this for since 1983, I got my license. So almost 40 years.
Whoa.
The objections back then are the same objections now, right? There aren't new objections, right? People still want to think about it. They want you to take a lower commission. They want to price it too high. They want, what? It's the same stuff. So, and there's agents that have great ways to handle those objections. Working on your mindset, working on your attitude. I didn't have, look, we were all the same when we were new, right? None of us had skills, none of us had experience, I didn't have knowledge then. But I knew I could work hard and I knew I could practice as long as I needed to. And then I would follow agents that were doing good and watching and listening to what they were doing and then emulate that. The other thing is the best way to get experience is to do something a lot. And as agents, every day we have to be doing 2 things. We have to be generating business and we have to be following up on the business that we generate. Said another way, we have to be lead generating or prospecting, and then we have to be following up on those leads. 80% of your time should be spent on revenue generating activities, prospecting, lead follow-up, presenting, negotiating, and then all the other time should be on practicing and then learning the market, just studying properties and values. So
yeah, you make a good point that agents do have time. And I advise them that if you're not showing property, you should be previewing property. And perception's reality. You can make videos on previewing property. Like do something and learn how to open up a lockbox and learn how to call and make an appointment to show a listing. Do the things so you're ready, going back to your sports analogy. So you're actually ready for game day, right? So Devin has a question. Devin, I'm asking you to unmute. Why don't you go ahead and unmute and ask Chris a question? And if you can't, then you can type it. Okay, let's see. Who else has a question? Write it in.
Where'd Devin go? Devin had a question.
Devin had a question, but now he is not coming on. So I don't know why he's not in the meeting.
We need more people in cars. Everyone in cars has questions.
I know. Okay. Who else has a question here? Raise your hand if you guys have a question, because I have more to ask Chris, but I wanted this to also be informative for you guys. I'm actually going to call on Michael Wiseman. Michael is a tech guru. I'm asking you to unmute Michael.
Sure. How you doing?
Don't you love how I put you on the spot?
Absolutely.
What kind of question do you have for Chris involving tech?
Involving tech? Well, I mean, we're always, of the 100 sides or so we'll do, we get about 50 are inbound leads, and we're always looking to leverage that and find ways to increase that. So, you for sure have been involved in that in the tech space. So I'm curious, like what you're seeing on the horizon right now. That for us, Google's been huge, right, to claim digital real estate. So where do you see as opportunities, let's say, in the coming year?
Yeah, I think there's
Right.
A couple of things. Like online traffic is definitely going to decrease, and it has decreased, right? Every national portal has shared that their numbers are down dramatically. Google searches, are down, but things shift, right? Instead of people searching Google for, how to buy a home or homes for sale in blank. Now you see people Google searches like, how to sell a home or how to list a home or how to find those type of things. So it's shifting, the focus is shifting. So we just want to be aware of that and make sure that we're putting our emphasis in those areas. I think there's a lot of what typically happens in a shift, a market that shifts in the direction this one has, is a lot of agents and companies pull back. They immediately, spend less, get conservative, and my approach has always been pretty much the opposite. Like when everyone else is retreating, attack. And that's where, you want not recklessly or foolishly, but you want to look at, hey, what are the things that are giving you a positive return on your investment? You spend $1 and you make more than $1, and where should you be deploying that money more? And then looking at anything that's marginal or isn't giving you a positive return and cutting those way back. And then, there's doubling down on our own lead generation, regardless of how we do it, whether it's done online, leveraging, whether you're doing pay-per-click on Google or picking up the phone or knocking on doors or whatever it is. This is the time where, we want to increase the amount of people that we're talking to, and keep doing that at a higher and higher level, because there will be fewer agents. All the agents that were surviving the last several years, because the market was so good and they were able to sell 5 or 6 homes, when they don't have those 5 or 6 sales, they're the ones that quickly, get out of the business and go back to what they were doing or get a job. So there will be less competition for the good agents. And so the good agents that are increasing the amount of people they're talking to, deepening those relationships, providing value to the people, and really educating consumers on what's going on, are the ones they'll capture the most. So there's not one technology hack or tool or platform. It's just leveraging the ones that are working for you.
Well,
So Chris, go ahead, Michael.
So what would you look at for an ROI, for example? Like, right, usually this time of year, we'll take all of our lead sources, right, and we'll look at them. We'll say, well, if we were going to double this source, what would it look like? And, I try to use a 5 to 1, basically, ROI, but I'll keep things that are even 3 to 1. So I've put 1,000 in and make it 3,000 GCI. That's still profitable. But in your experience, when you ran your business or what you observed, what do you think is?
Way back when it was when it was easier and less competitive, I was like, my standard was like 10 to 1.
Yeah,
but now that's really hard to do.
I'll take it.
Almost impossible. Yeah. But yeah, I think the way you're thinking is right on. Like 5 to 1 is really safe. 3 to 1, hey, if there's sellers,
right,
I'll take 3 to 1 all day long, right? Because that usually means there's more than one transaction that's going to come from that. But when you get below that, 2 to 1 or anything, then you really got to examine and say, hey, is this worth it? And sometimes it is. Sometimes you're getting enough additional benefit, whether it's name recognition that'll pay dividends in the future, or a type of lead that likely is a buy-sell lead. So there's going to be future deals, or a higher propensity for future deals. Then you might justify it. But I think that 5 to 1 or 3 to 1 is a safe range to stay in.
Chris, talk to us a little bit about video and how video can be used to convert leads a little bit better. I remember when I was recruiting for a company and I called you and you're like, are you using video? And so, there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of new agents. What are your thoughts on video and getting leads and converting them?
Yeah, I think it's the way people are communicating, right? On any social platform right now, video dominates the views, and we're always looking at how we can differentiate ourselves, how we can stand out. And being a person behind an email or a person behind a text message is much different than them seeing your face and everything else. So I would be using it in every single way possible. You get a lead and you have a conversation with them, and you immediately record a video and say, hey, this is Chris Heller. I'm the agent you just talked to. I want to put a face with a name, so you had that. I'm looking forward to helping you. Like I said, I'll be sending you some information and then following up with you in the day or two to see if you had a chance to look at that. All right. So easy, quick way to use video in your emails, in your follow-ups, before a listing presentation, sending that video and say, hey, this is Chris. Super excited about seeing you tomorrow afternoon. Appreciate you considering us for the job of selling your home. And once I get there, we'll have a great conversation. All right, just any of those things are impactful and helpful. Follow-ups with buyers, previewing properties and shooting a quick video. Say, hey, I just came across this property, made me think of you. I want to send it to you real quick. I'll put the link in the text below or in the email. Those are, there's endless ways to leverage it and use it. And we should be thinking of all those ways and using them, whenever humanly possible.
Well, and that's going back to doing something hard. A lot of people are afraid of how they look, right? They don't like to be on video. People are going to perceive them.
There's a chapter in the book about that. Can you look at the table of contents and see which?
Yeah, what chapter is that? Okay, let's go through it. Because I think I probably have that highlighted. Mindset of success, do the right thing always, pay attention, under promise, over deliver, have fun. That's a chapter, dominant thoughts. And then is that the one?
No, it's don't worry about what other people think.
Oh yeah, don't worry about what other people think. Page 39. Okay, let's talk about don't worry about what other people think.
Yeah, look, are you going to let? All right, now a disclaimer. This is really easy for me because I truly don't care very much about what people think. I'm an introvert. I'm totally happy with myself, and when the orthodontist wanted to do what they do, I was like, I'm good. I'm fine with my teeth how they are. This is what I got, and this is what I'll live with. So I'm like I'm on the extreme of that, right? So, but given that, we can't occupy any space in our minds with worrying about what other people think, because we have zero control over it. And if you think you do, you're hallucinating. Another sports analogy: if you watch a sprint, an Olympic race, 100-meter dash or 100-yard dash, the winners of those races always have their blinders on. They're laser focused at that finish line. And the runners that are looking over their shoulders to see what the other runners are doing are the ones that always get passed. So, I don't like how I look. I hate how I sound. I don't like watching myself on videos, and I've been videoed probably more than all of you put together. But that doesn't matter, right? That's just the way it is. So I wouldn't. And here's the other thing, that this is the way I've always thought about it. Am I going to let that get in the way of me accomplishing my goals? Am I going to let that be the thing between what's in my bank account now and what should be in my bank account? And if it's that important to you, then you got to be okay with where you're at and not getting to where you want to go.
So you actually brought up a good point. I remember when I did my Ironman race and everybody was canceling, and they're like, I don't know if I'm going to if I'm going to finish. I'm like, you don't know what you're going to accomplish unless you get started, right? And I ended up finishing this race at 140 miles, 140.6 miles in a day. The thing is, you might do a video and some people might be like, oh, you should do that differently. But what's the best that can happen, right? You do a video and you get a lead.
I posted a video today that the still shot of the video of my face is
horrible.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
It's like my face is all contorted and everything else. But I don't know how to change it. So I was
like, that's pretty bold. Good for you. Yeah.
And I said, this is a scary picture. I said, but the content is really good. And it's like here's the other, people judge you all the time. you guys are judging me constantly. You know, what I'm wearing, what my hair looks like, where I'm sitting, like what I'm saying, how I'm saying it. That's just normal stuff that human beings do. So don't give it any more energy than you should.
I
There's a
love it.
question from
Yes, this is a
question,
great
Chris, how do you
question.
manage your personal and professional life? So, when, I want to make sure I'm understanding the question. Like, are you talking about like balance, that type of question? Okay.
And we
So,
have 4 minutes, by the way, but we can go over if you need to.
I never, how do I want to say this? I always make sure I really like what I'm doing. And when I really like what I'm doing, it doesn't feel like work. So it's not like I have this work and then I have the rest of my life. It's just part of my life. I like what I do. And when you really like what you do, there's not this huge division. Now, at the same time, you know, I have 4 kids. I almost said I had 4 kids. I still have 4 kids. And I never missed a parent conference. I never missed a play. I never missed a an award, you know, at the morning flag salute or anything else, right? Because I just scheduled everything. And so, and to this day, my days are always scheduled. So, and that's, you know, having dinner with one of my kids or vacations or everything just gets scheduled. And when you schedule everything, you don't miss stuff, and you make sure it all happens. Now it's much easier to do that when you're really kicking butt at work, right? So when you have a day where you get everything done in that day, it's really easy to leave at the end of the day, either physically or mentally, right? If you're in an office and you've accomplished everything that you set out to accomplish that day, and it's 5 or 6 o'clock, it's super easy to leave. Now, if you didn't, it's really hard to leave, and most people don't. And then they keep working and they keep expanding into whatever time they have. And it's 8 o'clock and they're still at the office, you know, because they didn't follow their schedule during the day to get all the things done they need to get done. So one of the things I always recommend is have a schedule. And then if you're going to create discipline in any area of your life, the most impactful area I think you can create discipline is in following your schedule. If you follow your schedule, you will have plenty of time to do all the things you want to do. And if you don't, then you're not going to accomplish those things, including, you know, family time or other stuff. So I hope that helps.
The perfect schedule is the perfect freedom. I remember learning that. So Chris, first of all, you guys go pick up this book, Dominant Thoughts, get it on Audible. Also, I think it's really good on Audible just to keep playing, and also get the book. And one thing that we didn't mention.
One of the bonuses of the Audible is it's not my voice, so you don't have to.
Oh, I was wondering that. Who does the voice?
It's some actor that we hired.
Nice. Your voice is fine. It's all in your head. You guys go to Ojo Labs. Anyone that's listening to this, ojolabs.com. The difference between Ojo Labs and other companies is it's a live 3-party transfer. And so it's the agent that picks up the phone first and then sign up for their portal. Chris, what are your parting words?
I think the don't make it any more difficult than it is, right? What we do is really hard. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's easy. This is a hard business, but it's not a complicated business. And so keep it simple. Just focus on the 2 or 3 things that you need to do. And if you focus on generating new prospects every day, and then following up with those prospects forever, consistently and persistently, if you just do that alone, you'll succeed more than most. And then as you get really great at doing those 2 or 3 or 4 things, then you add in another, and then, you know, get really good at that, then add in another. And, you know, 90% of it is our mindset and how we think. So the stronger you can build your mindset, the more positive you can be in your mindset, not just for an hour, but all the time, the better you will do.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. This was fantastic. I hope you guys all got value out of today. It is a pleasure having you on, Chris. How do they get a hold of you if they want to sign up for Ojo Labs?
Yeah. Well, listen, Ojo, in most markets, we don't have any availability. So
Okay.
I'm just preparing you.
Okay.
We have more agents than we do leads. But if you want to get a hold of me for anything, you can, my email is cheller@ojolabs.com, or message me on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. And good luck in Telluride and have fun.
All right. Thanks,
Talk to you
everybody.
later. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Tanya. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.